a lot of cool little bonuses and also resources that aren't available to the general public for helping us with this beta program. But this is a paid beta program as well. Okay, so let's just jump into it here. But I just wanted to give you that disclaimer. My name's Joe Gilharry. Been in real estate for over 2 years now. Also a student of Pace Morby in his mentorship. If you don't know who that is, just look him up. Super legend. I've done over 30 transactions in the last 2 years alone, with last year being a little slow due to me kind of developing the software. But I saw a big problem with the industry because my background is in tech, digital marketing as well. I'm newer to real estate, but I started my first business when I was 18, 34 now at the time of this video. And just based on my experience with knowing how systems work and stuff like that, being like a high level integrator, um, when I was running these campaigns back when I first started in 2020, SMS cold calling campaigns, saw a lot of disconnected numbers, a lot of contact rates were very low and stuff like that. And I knew that there was a better way to do stuff, so I did a lot of R&D and developed a system to do this process manually. This process used to take me anywhere from 2 to 5 hours, depending on how much data I was utilizing. So I sought out to develop my own system and develop our own software in order to automate that process. So it used to take me anywhere from 2 to 5 hours. Now it takes me 5 to 10 minutes or less. So with that being said, the old way of doing things is, you pull a list, you skip trace it, then you put it into your dialer SMS system and begin your marketing. So no matter how good your skip tracing source is, if it's tier one or tier two data, there is always going to be bad numbers. If you don't know the difference between tier one and tier two data, just to explain it very briefly, because I want to keep this presentation short. Tier one data is like kind of the best data that's updated frequently, and also the most accurate, depending on the sources that are providing it, the way that it's actually kind of housed in like a data warehouse, and then also like the sources that contribute to it, and where they actually get it from, like credit providers, straight from sometimes even electrical companies and stuff like that. And then tier two data is kind of data that's not as updated as frequently, and it may not be given by multiple sources. So that's just a very, very, very plain basic answer. There's a little bit more to it as well, but obviously, just to keep it simple, again, tier one data is better than tier two data. Okay, so they're still both good. You just have to kind of know who your providers are and whatnot. So with that being said, the solution here is I developed software that helps validate phone numbers for SMS and cold calling campaigns in order to help you become more strategic in your execution. And so getting into more detail about kind of what the software does. So we partner with API providers, multiple API providers, who have direct relationships with carriers such as AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, and then also like older landline providers like Spectrum, and other super old, carriers that are even out of business that's been like acquired, like SBC and stuff like that. So what they do is they keep a database of all this data. And when I say all this data, I mean phone numbers, the caller ID, names, and stuff like that. When it's available, and they're able to provide it at scale. So when you upload your phone numbers to my system and you run those numbers through, the actual process, our data providers provide an API, and it spits out the following. So it spits out line types. So you have landlines and then mobile. So the biggest thing with this is a lot of people come on and they say, oh, okay, well, the guru said go ahead and skip trace the list and then do an SMS campaign. A lot of them aren't technical enough to explain to you that you actually have to separate your landlines from mobile. It seems like common sense, but I've spoken to dozens and dozens of people who are new and also intermediate who didn't know this when actually doing SMS campaigns. So this is one of the things that our data providers provide us. The second thing is a caller ID name. So if this is available, the owner of the phone number is also provided, which is really, really important. And we'll get to that in the next slide also. I'll kind of elaborate on that. And then the phone number position as well. Isn't something that our actual data providers provide us, but we actually track this from when you actually map it into our system from phone position 1 all the way up through 10, right? So this is really important later when you start tracking KPIs. A lot of the gurus will tell you that, hey, your best numbers are going to come from position 1 and 3. So don't worry about basically 4 through 10. That's actually not true. And I've heard some of my mentors say it, and shout out to them. I won't get into names specifically, but it's just more so of them not knowing any better, right? Because my data tells me something completely different. We get caller ID match names all the way from position 1 all the way up through 10. So very important that you're tracking this stuff, because if you're not, and you're not getting the most out of all your marketing campaigns, and it's going to become more expensive because you're not executing correctly, right? So now the providers also tell us if the number is active or disconnected. If it's disconnected, then that just means it's typically not in service. Now, I will say as a disclaimer, when it comes to the disconnected numbers, there is a variance. Some of the data providers with landlines specifically are a little off from 10 to 15%. So I'll leave that for a later video. We also explain that in our Trello, which you'll see here towards the later part of this presentation. Okay, so now with the actual caller ID, what we do is once we get the caller ID match from a phone number when it's available, we take that and we match it to the owner's name from when you upload your skip tracing file. You have owner 1 or owner 2, and then you have like a combined name. We take that and then match it to that owner's name. If we get a caller ID match of yes, then we have a 90 to 95% accuracy rate of getting in contact with the owner that we're looking for or somebody related to them. A lot of times you'll have like a cousin or even a daughter, a son, a mother, a auntie, an uncle, sometimes they have the same last name or whatever the case may be, or it might even be a relative. So that's really important when you're actually trying to get rid of wrong numbers. So overall, it gives you more laser targeted sniping. So again, the old mentality is kind of just getting a machine gun and spraying everything, hoping you hit stuff. When we're utilizing this validation system, we have a strategy in place that gives us laser sniping, so we can be very accurate and save on costs while being more focused and not having to cycle through as much data while getting better results. Okay, so this is very important. I was one of the first people to do this. I've been doing this for almost 2 years now. You might see a couple of services pop up. We won't mention no names, but it's great that a lot of them are doing it. Anybody that's trying to do this manually, I'll tell you right now, it's not going to work over a long period of time. I did it for a very long period of time manually, and there was times where you mess up 1 or 2 lines, all your data's messed up. So this is why we had to systematize it and put it in to build a software behind it in order to allow us to have like 100% accuracy with all of our records every time we run it. So efficiency and savings. After validating over 2.2 million phone numbers in the last 6 months alone in beta, we have seen on average that 30 to 45% of your numbers are going to be disconnected. Okay, so what that means is, let's say, for example, you have a list of 10,000 records that you pull from ProdStream, ListSource, county records, whatever the case may be. So what's going to happen is when you skip trace those 10,000 numbers, on average, if you have like 6 numbers to 10 numbers that come back in your skip tracing results, we see on average about 3 to 4 numbers that come back for each record, right? Because you have a property record, you skip trace that, and it provides up to 6 to 10 numbers per property record. So we're just using averages here. So out of 10,000 records, you're going to have about 30,000 phone numbers. So let's say you have 30,000 numbers that you upload into your system, whether it's your dialer, call tools, whatever the case may be, or your SMS campaign. You're wasting 30 to 45% in costs associated with the following. So your virtual assistants. Let's say you pay your VA $7 an hour for 30 hours a week. The total you pay them is $840 a month. If 40% of your numbers are bad, you're potentially wasting $336 per month in cost alone. That is cost specifically with the VA, and that's just not even talking about efficiency and other things that we'll get into later. This is just one tiny example. So this is also per VA. So let's say if you have 2 VAs, you could double that. So $672 a month. So if you look at that and you take the previous example of $672 a month for 2 VAs, which means like 40% of your time's being wasted with those VAs on bad numbers, then you're looking at a cost of $8,000 a year. So the more VAs you have, the more you can multiply this. I've spoken to people that have 4 to 6 VAs. So you can see how that adds up from that one thing really quickly. So now, by spending the money up front to validate your data, you save on costs later down the road while still becoming more efficient instantly. Okay, so results. Users who use our system see an increase in contact rate anywhere from 3 to 5x when calling and texting out on validated numbers. This means if your contact rate is currently 3%, you can quickly see a jump from 9 to 15% instantly. Huge. So some users have even seen contact rates of 25 to 30% or 35% or higher. Disclaimer: this does depend on multiple factors such as like your market, which market you're in, how competitive it is. So for example, I'm in Texas, I'm in Austin, Texas, and all surrounding counties, and also we're in Arizona, Maricopa County, super competitive markets. But we're seeing really good contact rates of 10 to 15% on that validated data. When before we've seen as low as like 3 to 4%. So it depends on your market. It depends on the time of day. So when you're looking at contact rate, what is a contact rate? It's when you basically call somebody and then they pick up the phone, correct? So that is, even if you have validated data, it's still going to depend on what time you're calling those people. If they're available that day, if it's a Friday, if it's a Thursday, if it's a Monday, and stuff like that. So it's going to vary, but these are the averages. And also, it's going to depend on what system you're using for cold calling and texting as well, right? Because sometimes dollars don't do what they say they're doing. We'll save that for a whole nother conversation. Eventually, we're going to have a built-in dollar as well in this whole system. So now higher contact rates also means more leads. The same users have seen an increase of 2 to 3x in lead flow as well on validated data. So this is just a quick preview of the phone validation. So you'll see there's a whole mapping process and stuff that we'll save for later. If you're actually going to sign up for an account, there's a Trello that shows you step by step of this whole process. This is just a quick preview where you see that the mobile, landline, and disconnected are separated. You'll actually see just like the files that we have here as well. And then this is the downloads. So with all our downloads, we have different LAN types. We have different formats to upload into Go High Level, REI Reply, Batch Dialer, etc. And then also we have mobile, landline, disconnected. And then we have our caller ID matching there, where it kind of tells you what needs to be, or what kind of format you downloaded. So very detailed, and we're going to have a lot of analytical reporting and stuff, even in addition to this as well. A lot of things we're working on behind the scenes I don't announce, just to remain a little, silent and kind of roll it out, slowly as well. And then also we have a data manipulator tool plus CRM. So this is currently underway. This is one of our premium features, but basically we're gonna have a full CRM. You're gonna be able to, basically get rid of Google spreadsheets completely and manage all your data inside of our system. And then also it's gonna sync with skip tracing that we'll have built in internally, as well as, the validation system and some other cool features. From this tool here, you'll be able to set presets, you'll be able to filter, you'll be able to list stack and do a variety of other things, and then also be able to have complete and full transparency inside of your data. So this is huge. A lot of people do not give you owner 1 and 2 in CRMs like that. And then also we map data by the mailing address. So you'll see all kind of properties underneath this individual contact, how many phone numbers you have, how many times you called the contact or texted the contact. You can add tags on multiple layers, and so on and so on. So now the pricing, so value versus price. So we are currently in paid beta. So this isn't free to say. There isn't a subscription right now for the validation stuff, but there is one when you want to upgrade to the later CRM features with the data manipulator, as well as some of the other cool stuff that we're launching. We'll save that for another time as well. That's all explained in the Trello if you sign up. But for the actual paid beta program, before we launch publicly, we need more users to kind of help us test out the system so we can work out a lot of bugs. And currently, we are invite only and accepting users who actually can use the system immediately. So if you're still on the fence and you're not sure 100% and you're not planning to actually use the system, then I don't recommend joining, because I don't want to waste your time or mine right now. I just want to be really transparent with what we're doing in beta. We're looking to actively work with people. We're going to be having Zooms, and we're going to be having case studies and a lot of other cool other things from beta testers who get in early. And that's in exchange for helping me test out the system, while also you getting a lot of good results with us being innovative with our approach. So the cost for the validation system depends on your usage, but it ranges from a penny 7 down to a penny 3 per validated number. So the cost is going to vary based off of the credits that you buy. The more credits that you buy, the better discount you get. So if you add anywhere from 2,500 to 7,500 credits at a time, it's a penny 7. And then if you add 31,000 to 100,000, it's a penny 3. And these credits never expire. Anybody that's using the system, though, we have a minimum, which you'll see here shortly. Now, as far as like how you actually calculate the cost, this was a question that comes up a lot. So I just want to explain it really quick. On average, you're going to be paying anywhere from 4.5 to 5 cents per additional record you skip. Okay. So this is for the validated data. So what that means is if you're paying 12 cents per record that you skip trace, you're going to add the additional cost on top of that. So it's going to be anywhere from 17 cents from 17 cents down to 16.5 cents per record validated. So now this just depends on the skip tracing provider that you're using. So if you're using a more expensive skip tracing provider, then it's going to be more expensive. But again, it's worth it. You're saving the cost in the long run. But now, for people who utilize our system, we have recommended providers inside of our Trello for tier one and tier two data that range anywhere from 10 cents per match all the way down to 4 cents per match. So we're able to, kind of help with that. With the cost by providing you with skip tracing providers that we use and get great results with or from. And depending on which ones you use, you can get your cost down to about 9 cents per skip trace record with our validated data. So that's another perk of using our beta program. We provide some cool resources and even talk about a lot of things behind the scenes that we're not really announcing publicly. So now, in order to participate in beta, we have a minimum requirement. You must spend $150, will give you 10,000 credits, which never expire. So there's no setup fees or anything like that right now. There may be one later. I don't know yet. We just really want to only work with people who are actually going to use the system. We've had quite a few people kind of join and just not do nothing with the account. That really doesn't help us or them right now. So again, we just have this one rule, and this is the only thing that we ask. You must be ready to use the system within the first week or less of joining. And you can literally add the credits and they'll never expire. So as long as you add the credits, then you're good. But we are going to be cleaning up accounts from users that aren't active or who aren't participating to kind of give us feedback. So again, just be ready for that conversation. Lastly, here's the Trello board. So once you actually sign up for it, once I set you up for an account, it has to be done manually through me. We have a whole process with our Trello board. So what's going to happen is you're going to get an email from me with the username and password. Once you actually your account is created, there's also going to be an activation email. Okay, so that's you're going to get 3 emails. One with your login. The second is going to be activation. Once you click on that activation link, you're going to get a welcome email. Really follow the instructions in the welcome email. Join the Trello board, and it's going to give you a step from A to Z all the way on everything you need to have in order to utilize the system. Very important you don't bypass that step. We've had users come and bypass that step, and then they come back and say, "Oh, how do I do this?" And it's all documented. So we're also looking for feedback on this as well. It's all done on Trello since we're in beta. Our UI and stuff will change later. Later on, it's going to be more detailed. But basically, if you're not familiar with Trello, very, very easy to just Google it really quick and watch some YouTube videos on what it is and how to use it. But it's basically a project management tool. We have all of our documentation on how to use the system documented in here. All right, when you're ready to move forward, please contact me. So thank you so much for your time. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm also happy to answer any questions. Thanks.